Hey guys, what is up? My name is Exteria, and this is how to play the highest win rate comp, Black Rose. In this video, we're going to cover the many different ways that you can play this comp. And I know a lot of us probably just throw out 5 Black Rose without thinking, what is our carry going to be? And what items to build for our carries. To give you an idea, I'm going to show you guys Backline Elise. This style is actually very easy to play because essentially it's just 5 Black Rose with all legendaries, and her best in slot, her core, is to have his Spirit Sojourn, and you can build whatever AP items after that. The second carry would be Heimerdinger, and his core items to have a blue buff. Most of the time, when we play this comp, we don't think about that we want to play Heimerdinger. We probably might want to play Elise, maybe LeBlanc, or maybe even Cassiopeia. So most of the time when you play Heimerdinger, he probably might have a Spirit Sojourn, and you can also still build the Nashor's Tooth instead of Archangels and Jewel Gauntlet on him. It's still okay as well. And you just flex around with the many different items. If you can't build a good mana item, a good one to talk about here is Adaptive Helm. It's a pretty decent mana item if you cannot build that Shojin. And then our main tank most of the time is gonna be Garen, and then you have the best in slot tank items here and whatever flex you want. To make a Black Rose emblem, you would need to have a rod and a spatula. If you get a pan, you can reforge it into a spat to make the Black Rose spat. I'm going to briefly go over all this because I'm going to show you guys anyways visually with the team builder, but essentially you don't have to follow this exactly, and it's just to give an idea. You can have Morgana as the carry item holder with Vladimir as your main tank, just use anything to fill in traits, and at level 5 maybe throw in Lux to buff your board, and then level 6 throw out Cassiopeia, maybe have a Scion by then. The good thing to note here is to throw out Cassiopeia as fast as you can, so you can have 3 Black Rose. For example, if at level 4, maybe you can start with Black Rose, and you can win all stage 2. For our first board variation is having an Elise carry, so you item transfer to whoever had your carry items to Elise, and you put it in a backline. And then same thing with the tank, just put the tank items on Garen, and it's just all the Black Rose units with Nunu and Swain as your other 2 front lines. When you hit level 9, if you want to, you can change out Swain for Jace because better units, or if not, you can keep him, and because of Mordekaiser, you get Conquer. And you trade out Nunu for Malzahar if you want to have a stronger backline. Our second variation is Heimerdinger carry. So you just put the carry items on him, still have Garen tank, and then you have 4 Visionaries-ish with Morgana, Nunu, and then Malzahar at level 9. You still want to play 5 Black Rose no matter what, and then you can have a secondary tank as Elise frontline. Our third variation would be like LeBlanc carry, and then with her, instead of having Garen as a main tank, you have Elise. And the reason why not Garen is because you're playing Nami, and Nami is also an emissary, so it would cancel out each other's synergies if you have Garen and Nami in. And then level 9, you can just start Mordekaiser or Malzahar. For your first item slams, a good one would always be Spirit Sojourn, because you're going to need it late game anyways, and it's also very strong early game. If not, you can debuff the board with Static Shiv, because you kind of need that magic resist shred, so it lowers down the magic resist, so your AP does more damage. And if you have any rods, maybe Jewel Gauntlet, maybe even the Death Cap. You can do an Archangel staff if you want, but I wouldn't really prefer it because you kind of want that tier for your mana items like Spirit Sojourn or even Adaptive. And then good tank items to start out with would be Sunfire. It's only good as a first item slam, so you can win streak early, but if you don't need it, then don't slam it. But the other good tank items to slam would be like Steadfast Heart, Warmongs, and even Dragon's Claw, because if you have 2 cloaks, you can't really do anything with it. But these are really good like first item slams to start with. Now I'm going to explain more in depth on how to play this comp, and say for example, and we're going to do the first example that I showed on what kind of good opener you can do, and that would be with Morgana, a Vex, and a Mumu, and a Vladimir. This is actually pretty okay opener, and you can put Spirit Soldier on either Vex or Morgana. It's just depending who's level 2 first. And then same with your tank, a Mumu. For example, he most of the time will be level 2 first, so you want to put tank item on him. Or say for example, you can't get a Mumu 2, maybe you get a Darius 2. That's fine too. Or say for example, you can't get Vlad at all. You could do Mumu 2 or Darius 2. Other ways you can open is maybe 2 Sork with Lux and Zyra. This is okay openers as well, because when you hit level 5, you can find probably a Vlad, and you could take out one of the wardens that you didn't have level 2. So you could probably take out one of the wardens, like say for example, if Darius is not level 2, just throw out Nami. There you go, we got 4 Sword and 2 Warden. There's a bunch of different variations to open, but the one thing that's very important to note about would be to have a Cassiopeia on drop, or for whatever reason you have her in your shop right away. You can win streak very hard with this because you summon Scion already. So if you have a Vlad, Morgana, Cassiopeia, you can play literally whatever after this just to branch out. So most of the time your board will probably look like something like this. And then I would prefer to put Spirit Soldier on Morgana 2 over having it on Cassiopeia because she's a higher level unit. So basically meaning she's gonna be a little bit stronger than Cassiopeia 1. Or if you have a Lux 2, that works too, because you also get Sork with Vladimir. Or even like a Zyra 2, that works as well. It's totally up to you. It's just to give an idea of what you can open. And we can use this as our example because TFT in early game is very messy. So we could just use this as our general idea. Say for example, we have a Zyra 2 carry, so we position like this, where we have Silent in the middle to tank everything, and he could just run people down. And then over time, maybe we need more tank, so probably might find a Vander, maybe Vander 2, which is a good plus. So this will be a board at level 6, and then that means we probably might need one more Warden, so we could be extra tankier. So we probably look for maybe a Scar, because level 7, you don't stay here for too long, only like 1 or 2 rounds. So when we hit level 8, we roll down for a board. And the first variation would be Elise. So we have our Elise carry with our carry items on her. And then now at this point, we have 4 Black Rose. To finish the board, we look for Nunu 2, and then a Swain 2, and finally our main tank, Garen. Depending on what we have here, is depending on what you want to itemize your tank. Say for example that you don't have a Garen 2 yet, there's kind of no point to put tank items on him. But if you have a Swain 2, which most of the time you probably would, then you put the tank items on him. And the way you want to position this board would be more so like this, and then spread out your backline a little bit. And then there you go, we got our main board. This is the base variation of it, and as you can see, we have 7 units because Silent doesn't count as a unit. So what you want to put in as a +1? Well, what we could put in is maybe you want extra tank. We could throw in a Mundo because it gives us Dominator with Cassiopeia. Maybe you want to be cheap, then maybe we can keep the Amumu too. That's fine as well. Or if you get lucky and we find a LeBlanc at 8, that's a plus. Or maybe we cannot find that, maybe we get a Mordekaiser. This is actually really good because we get Conquer and Dominator, since Swain's is a Conquer with Mordekaiser and Cassiopeia is a Dominator with Mordekaiser as well. So this is actually probably like the best way of doing it. But this is the case if you hit at least 2 first, because if you find LeBlanc already and over Mordekaiser and Elise is still level 1, you might as well make LeBlanc 1 as your main carry and play frontline Elise instead. If you already have Garen 2, just keep him in. If not, take him out, play 4 Sorks. Now we got LeBlanc as the main carry, Swain as the main tank. Unless Elise is level 2, then we can make her the main tank. And we have Nami, and we have Cassiopeia, so we have a lot of synergies here. Or maybe, on your roll down, you stumble upon a Heimerdinger too. Then you just play Heimer carry instead. If you can't find a LeBlanc, this is fine as well. In order to finish off this board, well, you don't have Nami first of all for playing this board. Say for example you want more tank, then you get a Garen, and you just put the tank items on Garen. But the main issue is, if maybe you probably can't find a Garen too, because he's heavily contested. Maybe you can do a Mundo too. This is probably just to help you maybe get like a 5th place, maybe a 4th place. And then if you get him level 2, obviously you just put the tank items on him, then you're fine. But in order to play that 4 Visionary, you kind of need the Garen, because Garen fits really well with this tank comp, and you put the tank items on him because you have to take out Swain, and maybe you find a Malzahar. So you can have 4 Visionary, so Heimerdinger could do extra damage. So the issue is, in order to play 4 Visionary, you kind of need the Garen, because you get the Watcher with Vladimir. Then when you hit level 9, then you can find LeBlanc, then you can have 5 Black Rose, so Silent is even stronger. Or say for example, we found a lot of Cassiopeias. We can play her as a carry too. So what the board will look like is something like this so far. And then you have Mundo, so we get 1 Dominator. And then we have a Blitzcrank over a Nunu, because Dominator. And we throw out a Silco. Then we get 4 Dominator. We play reroll Cassiopeia. And you kind of want to reroll her at 8, because you can get better units here, since you have a lot of 4 cost units to use. So you kind of want to roll 8 instead. And then you can make the main tank either Garen or Mundo. It's totally up to you. And then level 9, then we just get LeBlanc instead, and take out the Blitzcrank for a Mordekaiser 2 instead. In order to play 6, you kind of need the emblem. Or if you want to drop Black Rose overall to play 6 Dominator, that's totally up to you. There's also another last resort-ish comp you can do with Black Rose with the Dominator idea is Silco. So you can play Silco instead and have 2 Dominator instead, and then you just have a Mundo. So say for example, you cannot find literally any carries. Like you cannot find the Heimerdinger, you can't find this LeBlanc. This could work too as a last resort. And then you can also play the 4 Dominator route with the, instead of Nunu, is like the Mundo and then the Blitzcrank. It's the same idea with the Cassiopeia reroll, but instead of Silco. Or maybe you get a Zoe 2 instead. You can do that too, where we just take out all the Dominators here and then have the Swain and then the Zyra, and then there you go. This version is fine too, where we have 4 Black Rose and still 4 Sort, and then you just anomaly the Zoe, and then you're fine. Hit level 9, throw out LeBlanc, take out the Zyra, and then throw out the Mordekaiser, or even the Malzahar. So this comp is super flexible. You can do anything if you're open-minded enough to see what your position is and what you can roll down. And then for our augments, the ones we always want to click, like no matter what, would be Black Rose Crest to get that extra emblem. There is Forbidden Magic, where every time your Black Rose units get a kill, then we can empower the Scion even more. I'd honestly never seen this augment. I didn't know this was a thing. Mana flow ban, because you're always playing casters anyways. This augment is actually really good. And Piercing Lotus is a strong meta augment overall. So basically, this is how the order would be. It's always Black Rose Crest first, Forbidden Magic, either Mana Flow or Piercing Lotus. Either one's fine. And then good augments to also stay healthy in the game would be like Void Swarm, because we need more frontline. So having Void Swarm helps out a lot. Immovable Object makes our weak frontline already super tanky, so this helps a lot for that. Blazing Soul is pretty decent because it gives our main carry more attack speed so they can cast more. And Inspiring actually works on Scion, so if he dies, he also transfers stats to the other units. So this is really good for that. The augment prior order you always want is the emblem, which is like the Black Rose Crest, or Econ, either first or second augment. If you do it as your third augment, unless you're like super poor for whatever reason, then I would say it's okay to do, but for the most part, it's better to do combat as your third augment or the emblem. And combat is only pick the strong ones, like the one shown here, because if you pick a weak combat augment, you're not gonna win in the long run. So basically, that last resort would be items. All the other augments are bad, or if you don't know, like for example the combat augments, if you don't know what's good to pick, you can never go wrong with more items. Because the more items you have, the stronger you are on the board. A lot of people always ask me what playstyle we play, and it's basically a high tempo, which is what we all know it as, fast aiding. How to do this is at stage 2-1, you level to 4, so you can have a strong board out and ready to kill everything. But even if you do lose, at least you lose less HP, because the less HP you lose, the chances you have of coming back even more. And then at stage 2-3, always make intervals of 10 gold. If you don't make intervals of 10 gold, you're going to be poor in the long run. And then if you have somewhere around the intervals of 14 gold, 24 gold, 35 gold, play level to 5, this will help you out a lot, because when you come back from Carousel at stage 2-4, you will have a level 5 shot. But if you didn't do this, then just hit level 5 at stage 2-4. And then if you don't know what I mean by pre-level, this is how it looked like at stage 2-3. You press the level 1 time, then you get 8 out of 10 XP, because when you come back from the carousel, then you're level 5. At stage 2-6, always make intervals of 10 gold again, 20 or 30 gold. This will help a lot, so you can be rich to fast 8 at around like stage 3 or 4. And then at stage 3-2, hit level 6. This is when you get your second augment. And then this is like to save HP and make yourself stronger. At any point in the game, you can hit 7 whenever you want, but the standard would be stage 3-7, which is at Wolves, you hit level 7. If you have enough gold to do it, where you still have 50 gold and you hit level 7, that's fine to do as well. So you have a better shop odd to maybe get 4 cost units within like 1 or 2 turns. And speaking of 1 turn, so after Wolves, you fight for 1 more turn. Or if you want to, you can hit level 8 beforehand so you can roll down for your board. But the standard would be around stage 4-2, you hit level 8 and then roll for your board. This is the way how you fast 8. This is the general norm that a lot of like higher players would know, and you can play any board with this playstyle. That's not reroll though. So if you're playing family reroll, don't do this. This is a different playstyle. And that is it for my Black Rose beginner guide. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer to the best of my capabilities. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.